Hi, this is Jonelle Mosser, and you're listening to The Business Side of Music.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Can we get serious now?
One thing that did happen during the 60s was some music of an unusual or experimental nature did get recorded and did get released. Now look at who the executives were in those companies at those times. Not hip young guys. These were cigar-chomping old guys who looked at the product that came and said, I don't know. Who knows what it is? Record it, stick it out. If it sells, all right. We were better off with those guys than we are now with the supposedly hip young executives who are making the decisions of what people should see and hear in the marketplace.
Success in the music business begins with a dream, a vision. This podcast will give you, the listener, the insight and tools to turn that vision into a reality. Meet the industry professionals who work day by day behind the scenes, helping to make those dreams come true. Welcome to the business side of music.
In the studio with us today, sitting across the podcast table, it has been said that each of us can do at least one thing better than 10,000 other people. Thankfully, Robin Ruddy found her one thing when at the age of 7. She started learning to play stringed instruments. Since she learned the ukulele at that age, she has added guitar, banjo, dobro, and pedal steel, among others. She's toured with the likes of Rod Stewart, Shania Twain, Ray Stevens, and other top-tier acts. Along with winning a Grammy, she built a thriving career in Nashville and has seen the highs and lows of life, all while observing and writing about it at the highest level. She and her beloved husband, Larry Sheridan, built a life together in Nashville and had a sizable impact on the music community here. When Larry passed away recently, Robin did what songwriters do in times of great sadness. She began to write and record to not only assuage her grief, but to help others who may be walking the same difficult and sometimes dark path. Robin's new project, Healing Happens, will be released this year. It's actually been released, I guess.
It was released on October 31st.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I guess you've heard that before, what I've read at least once or twice.
Once or twice.
That's a great intro. So, from what I read, you made a deal with your parents. You wanted a guitar.
Uh-huh.
And they said, okay, well, that's great, but you have to learn, what was it, 2 or 3 songs?
3 songs, and if I learned them before Christmas, I would get a guitar for Christmas.
So that was kind of like an audition.
Yeah, it was kind of like an audition, and Christmas morning, there was a guitar under the tree, so I guess I passed the audition.
Do you still have that guitar?
I do.
Wow, what is it?
Oh, it was a nylon string guitar, which I have subsequently put, they call it a high string, that we put the high strings of a 12-string set onto it, and it gets that real jangly, real high
I've
high
never
sound.
heard of that before.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Really pretty.
Along with the instruments that we mentioned, what others do you have up your sleeve? We got pedal steel, we've got banjo, dobro, guitar, of course, ukulele.
Yeah.
Is there some other magical instrument there we don't know about yet?
I own quite a few different things. I don't spend enough time with them to be really, really super proficient, but I can record on a lot of different things because you can go over and over again until you get it right.
Right.
But I've got a bouzouki, I've got mandolin, and just bass and things like that.
Were you all self-taught on all of those instruments?
Some of it, yes. I mean, I took music lessons. I took piano lessons when I was a kid, so I learned how to read.
Right.
And
don't we all do that at a certain age?
Yeah.
We all have. I think I started taking piano in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, something like that. Yeah.
And it just gives you a good foundation, music foundation for everything else, because everything else hangs on that framework.
Yeah.
But mostly what I learned is how to play by ear. I would listen to records and then I would compare what I heard to what I found on my guitar, and I'd go, oh, I think that's this, and I'd find it. And yeah. So when I played pedal steel, when I decided that I was going to play pedal steel, I did sign up for lessons because that's a really complicated instrument.
Yeah.
My story with learning how to play the pedal steel is I studied with Buddy Charlton, who used to be with Ernest Tubb and the Texas Troubadours back in the day. Then he retired from the road and moved to Maryland, and I lived in Northern Virginia at the time, so it was kind of close. And his shop was in the back of a Harley-Davidson dealership, and as pedal steel shops should be.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I would get out of my car and I'd have my steel in the case and I'd be wheeling it around on my dolly through the Harleys, trying not to knock them over. And then you get back there and we would set up our steels facing each other, and he would say, okay, we're going to learn this song. He'd play it, and then he'd go, okay, so now, first thing we do is put your left foot on the A and the B pedal, put your left hand on the 3rd fret, pick the 2nd, 6th, and 10th strings, and then you pick that, and then you let go of the pedals on your left foot. And that would be one thing. And we would go through the entire song step by step like that. None of it was written down. So I had, this was so long ago, it was back in the cassette days. I would record it on cassette. We'd go through the whole thing, and, we'd go through a passage, and then we'd go back and review it to see if I could remember what I just did, because it was really convoluted. There's knee levers and foot pedals. And
I was going to say there's more pedals on a steel than there is in a car.
There are.
Yeah,
there are, for sure. So, yeah, and every week I would learn a new song. I'd go home from that lesson and listen to the cassette again on the way home to review it in my mind and try to remember it. And then I'd go home and I'd set up my steel and I'd go through the lesson again to try to remember it. And then I would record a guitar track to a click track or to a drum machine real slow and try to get through it, but in time. And I'd know where the rough spots were. And eventually I could get through it, and then I would do a new recording a little faster. And by the end of the week, I would have that song together.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work, and I was so dedicated to it, and I was so loving it that wild horses couldn't have pried me away from doing that.
Pedal steel obviously came to mind at what point when you were playing? I mean, ukulele and guitar, I get it, and even dobro, but pedal steel it's not even like a piano. It is so unlike any other instrument.
It is. Well, when I was just fresh out of high school, I was in a band. We lived in a group house, and one of the band members had a pedal steel, and he brought his pedal steel over one time, and he left it there because I guess he just didn't feel like packing it up and taking it home. So he left it there, and so over a couple of nights, I would go in there, and I would sneak in there, and I wonder if he'd mind if I try it out. And I played it, and figured out, well, oh, this knee lever does that, and oh, this foot pedal does that, and this does that, and it's so cool. I just fell in love with how cool it was.
Yeah.
And then everybody said, man, you've really got to be coordinated to play that instrument. So I sort of shelved it and went back to playing banjo and guitar and stuff. And then I was going back to college, and I was studying classical guitar in college, and my classical guitar teacher said to me one time, Robin, you're the most coordinated student I've ever had. And I just went, ding. It was a light bulb moment for me. I just thought, well, if she thinks I'm that coordinated, maybe I should go get a steel.
Yeah, I was going to say, because that's not your typical instrument, and especially when we read about who you've toured with. Shania Twain, I could kind of get it, and Ray Stevens, but did you play steel on Rod Stewart's tour?
Yeah, I did. He put out an album called Still the Same, and it was a bunch of covers from the 70s, and there was some pedal steel on there. And then I just started working the steel into some of the other songs, and I didn't play on all the songs, but he would use his musicians, like we'd come in and we'd be featured on certain things, and then we'd come off, and then we'd come on. So
yeah. Wow. How long were you with Rod? 2.5
years.
What was that like?
It was incredible. It was incredible. It was a really cool, really cool experience. And we got to go to 26 countries while I was with him.
That's a nice little stamp in your passport.
Yeah. I had to get pages added to my passport. So it was fun.
That's a nice problem to have.
Yeah. We had a lot of good times, and I saw a lot of the world, and just playing with such high caliber musicians and high caliber artists, and to packed houses that knew every single word of every song every night.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
You and your husband started building a life and a career here in Nashville. And when we talk about the sizable impact on the music community that you made, I just discovered something, and that is you, one of the artists that I produce a podcast for, Lori Morgan, actually recorded an album in your studio.
Yes, just recently.
How did that studio come about? I mean, obviously this is Music City and everybody's got a studio. But how did Parlor Studios come along?
Well, Larry used to have this saying that he liked to say, if you knock on a door and you can't get any doors to open, build your own. And we were wanting to have a studio, and we decided to buy this house on Music Row. We bought it from Randy and Lib, and they were liquidating some houses that they had. And it was just being used as concessions. It needed a total gut. So we gutted it to the studs, took off the top floor, took off the roof and added a second floor, blew out the back, added the studio out the back. And it went from 1,600 square feet to 4,200 square feet.
Wow.
And it's beautiful now. It's amazing. Because Larry was also a woodworker, and he was a fine cabinet maker. So he had incredible skills, woodworking skills and architectural skills and all kinds of things. So he just did an amazing job of creating this empire for us to work out of, right in the heart of Music Row on 16th Avenue.
And the studio's still there to this day?
It's still there, yeah.
And you keeping busy?
Keeping busy, yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that, because so many of the younger generation of musicians and singer-songwriters, they go and they buy a laptop and they'll have like GarageBand or something on there. And to them, that is their studio. But I think we miss that whole creative, beautiful process that happens in a studio. That's just got to be a great feeling, especially when you have artists come in that want to record an album. Yeah,
it's great. I love it. And tracking days are so much fun. They're so intense, but they're so fun because all of the musicians are top echelon musicians, and they add so much to your song. Invariably, you'll come in with a song that you think is just so amazing, and then you'll go in and it gets recorded by these session musicians, and it just elevates it to the next level. And you walk out of there with, oh my God, this is so much better. It's so good.
Let's talk about session players, because to me, and I've been in Nashville since 1998, that is a phenomenon that just stuns me every time I go in the studio. And here's the song, and they'll listen to it, and then they'll write these real simple charts, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they begin to record, and the magic happens.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
How do you go about selecting those session players? Do you typically book those, or is it the producer?
The producer usually books the players.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I'm the producer, so I will book the band if I'm the producer.
How do you go about finding those session players then?
Well, I've been here for so long.
Yeah.
I've got a huge Rolodex, contact list of session players that I've worked with over the years, and they're all so good that, you can't go wrong.
No, you really, and it's usually they can do it in one take.
Yep.
I was producing a project 12, 13 years ago, and we needed a pedal steel player, and we brought in Tommy White, who's a regular on the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, yeah, he's great.
And we sat down, we said, all right, here's the song. We started playing it for him, and we finished. We go, okay, you want to go ahead and write a chart? And he goes, no, let's just do it. We hit the playback, and he recorded his part, and at the end of one take, the engineer and I, both of our mouths were pretty much on the floor. You want me to do that again? And we're like, that was pretty darn good. You can do it better. Yeah, it's just amazing how those guys can come in and work that.
Well, that just comes from years and years of doing it so many times with everybody. I was telling somebody when I was younger, I wanted to jam with people all the time. So there would be these jam sessions up in the D.C. area. There was a big bluegrass contingency of people that got together and did pickin' parties all the time.
Right.
So I was in the pickin' party circuit. They would always call me and let me know there's going to be a pickin' party on Saturday night over at so-and-so's house. And I would go, and it was just so much fun to do. And I would always try to find the best players in the group and try to get my way into that circle. And you learn how to listen when you're doing that, because you might not know the songs yet.
Yeah.
But by the end of the song, you know the song.
You know how it's structured and when it's going to turn and such.
Yeah, so it was really good ear training. And so now I can just listen to a song and write a chart. I hear it and I know what it is, and I just write the chart as you go.
That is a talent in itself.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be kind of impressed by that, and I just think, oh.
Yeah. You almost do it by rote at that point.
Yeah.
It's just second nature for you.
Yeah. And I'm writing charts in my head when I hear music. I go, oh, wow, that's an interesting change. That one went to the 5 minor instead of the 6 minor or something. And, it creates a different left turn that you don't always hear.
When we talk about music these days, and obviously because you're in the studio and you're producing, are you hearing things that maybe you go, okay, that is different from the norm? Is there still that creative process out there that's bringing music to the table that you go, okay, this is different?
Yeah, that is funny that you asked that, because that just happened recently. I was working with, actually, she's an old high school friend from Miami. When I lived in Miami, went to high school down there. And she came up and did a project. And one of the songs that she wrote had this really unusual chord progression in the chorus. It just went to this place that was very unexpected. And at first it twisted my ear and I didn't like it. I was kind of uncomfortable with it. And then after listening to it 3 or 4 times, I started to crave it. It was such a cool change from the norm that I just loved it. So it's funny how you get into these deep grooves, and then every once in a while somebody will pull you out of it.
Sometimes being uncomfortable in music is actually a good thing. It's a great learning experience.
I know.
We're going to take a break, get a word in for a couple of our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to have some more conversation with Robin Ruddy.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larry Butler, and I want to send you a free digital copy of my new book, The Singer-Songwriter Rulebook, 101 Ways to Help You Improve Your Chances of Success. That's right. Everything you need to know to launch your career as a singer-songwriter, all based on my 40 years in the live performance arena. And believe me, I've seen it all. In my book, you'll find the 10 things you have to deal with before even thinking about becoming a singer-songwriter performer. You'll also learn about the 5 things every singer-songwriter can do this weekend to make their live show better. 5 things I can guarantee that you are not doing already. Plus, there's tips on songwriting and staging, photo and video shoots, publishing, merch, dozens of other topics. All written for people who don't particularly like to read. And again, it's free. Just go to the Business Side of Music website homepage and look for my book cover. Click on it, and a free digital copy of my book will be yours. I'm Larry Butler, and I approve of this message. Thanks.
Since 1963, Korg has been creating new experiences in music and performance. That is what drove the creation of some of Korg's most legendary products, such as the Poly 6, the M1, the Electribe, the Triton, the Minilogue, the Kronos, Wave State, Op6, and most recently the Nautilus, which is what we have here in our studio. Korg is dedicated to creating new, innovative, and uncompromising instruments which maintain the highest quality to inspire music makers, past, present, and future. Visit Korg.com or your favorite Korg dealer to get your hands on one of their products and start creating new music always. Korg, the official sponsor of the business side of music.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Bright light, healing light, surrounding you day and night, healing every part of you. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna.
Back in the studio here in Nashville, Tennessee, Robin Ruddy is sitting across the table from me. We're going to talk about your album, Healing Happens, but there's really a preface to that, and that is your husband, Larry. As I indicated in the very beginning, you two built a life together, but he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And
sadly.
Was that something that was unexpected or?
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He got cancer, so when you get cancer, you have I guess, an inkling that you could be.
There's an expiration date.
There's an expiration date.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, it happened fast.
Wow.
Yeah, it happened fast.
Out of that grief that you were obviously dealing with, you created this project called Healing Happens. Let's go down that path and talk about how that all came about. We realized that the loss of your husband was kind of the ignition for this project.
Very much so.
Yeah.
When he was in the hospital, it started happening. These songs started falling out of the sky. And one of the songs that was the first song on the thing is called Healing Light. And I just got this chant, and I recorded it on my phone while I was walking down that long path, skywalk to the parking garage, and went in the next day and recorded it. And it's just basically like a chant for him, for healing, because he had all these doctors and nurses and people doing all these things, but there was no music therapy. So I brought in a nice little healing song for him, and he liked it. He thought it was really pretty. But that kind of kept going. I mean, along the way, these songs just kept falling out of the sky.
I was going to say, did one song feed another?
Yeah, the songs really the songs take you on a journey, and it really takes you on a journey, and it starts with the joy, the healing light, and then the joy of coming home, and that was relating to coming home from the hospital.
Right.
And then the you're finally home relates to going the inevitable. And then it was more about, after he passed, it was more about, what do I do? Like, where does this leave me? And so I went through a lot of different emotional twists and turns and ups and downs, and those came out in song, and some of them were really dark, and some of them are really happy and whimsical, and it just takes you on this incredible journey that ends up back around to healing, which is Healing Happens. And that's the title cut of the album. You
recorded this in the studio.
Yeah.
And other musicians came on board. What was their take on all of this? Did they understand the backstory to it?
Yes. I used all of the people that I used all knew Larry and knew what was going on.
So now you've got passion along with these instrumentalists.
And I've got to say, I recorded this thing completely backwards from any way that I would ever recommend someone doing. If I were producing a project, I would say this is the wrong way to do it.
How did that come about? Why was that?
It was because I didn't write these thinking I was going to make an album. I just wrote them because I couldn't not write them. And then by the time I got so many songs together, I looked at this and I thought, God, this is something that I really should make an album. I mean, this is a whole body of work that really works. And it's great songs. And as I was writing them, I was doing guitar vocals in the studio. So they were really raw. I was really in the moment when I recorded the guitar vocals. And then later on, I would go back in and I would add maybe pedal steel to it, or maybe a dobro part or extra guitars or something. I kept like dressing it up a little bit, bass, whatever. And then as I got further down the road, I thought, I really wish I had a rhythm section. I really wish I had bass and drums on this.
Yeah.
And so I hired a bass and drum players, but I didn't re-record anything. I just made them play to what I had already because I had put so much work into it already. Then once you shift from a click track to a drummer, as you know, that changes everything.
The whole dynamic changes.
The whole thing changes. Yeah. And so then I went back and started re-recording the guitars. They just didn't feel right. They needed to be re-recorded. So some of the other parts survived. Most of the vocals survived. And then we mixed it, and it came out great. But it was hard to do it that way. It would have been much, much, much better to have a whole band in there and do it all at once and get it from the ground up, the rhythm section in there first.
You have 14 tracks on this album. Is there one that stands out above the others? You've got one song on there that I just love. The title was 99 Boxcars.
Yeah.
Was that part of this healing process, or was this something you had out there before?
No. Each and every one of these songs is part of the healing process. 99 Boxcars was a song that I wrote. I started while waiting for a train, the one in Berry Hill that right by the post office. Yeah. I know you've gotten stuck at it before.
I've gotten stuck there more than once.
And it's a long train. Yeah. And I started off writing 156 boxcars on a train going by. And I took it home and I changed it because that was too cumbersome. And I have no idea, really. It doesn't matter, the number.
It seems like 99 boxcars, on a good day.
It does.
99 goodbye. You live here in my heart forevermore, and you're here with me tonight. I'll take your kindness and pay it forward. I'll try to shine your light. 99 questions I still have for you. 99 things I wish that we could do. 99 times I've wondered why we had to say goodbye.
And that's basically 90. It talks about 99 boxcars on a train going by, 99 reasons I wonder why you had to say goodbye, and then 99 places we used to go, 99 faces we used to know, 99 you had to say goodbye. So it's a pretty simple song, but it's just lamenting the loss of the community and the support and stuff that we had for each other.
Looking at your song titles, you really kind of go from one extreme to the other in addition to 99 Boxcars. Monster in the Closet to Have a Good Life. You talk about opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Monsters in the Closet.
Well, Monsters in the Closet is it's a very dark, it's probably one of the darker songs in the collection. And it's just it could be interpreted many ways. It could be interpreted about addiction. It could be interpreted about mental health issues. It could be interpreted with all kinds of things. Like I feel like everybody has some sort of demon or monster in the closet.
Or even grief.
Yeah. So it's basically this grief monster, and it's a real haunting kind of song.
Yeah.
With beautiful harmonies.
And then you have the song titled Have a Good Life, which really kind of takes you, I think, to the other end of this musical journey. And I want to go back for a second, too, because I love what you said. This album is more than just a collection of songs. It is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss that on projects, if you can even find a full album being released anymore.
I know.
That it really is just a collection of songs, and just kind of like the old school way of the record labels did it, which is, well, one or two or three of these will be a hit. Yeah. Where when I was a kid growing up, and we had albums like Santana Abraxas or Boz Scaggs Silk Decrees, those types of albums took you on a musical journey. And that's what you're creating here.
That's what I've created. I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine lost his dad, and he was with his mom, and I gave him this record to listen to. And he said, I'm going to let my mom listen to it. And so he put it on, and she was busy. She says, I'm too busy to sit. And he said, that's fine. I'll just put it on in the background, and you can do your dishes and do whatever you need to do. And so he put it on, and he said after the second song, she put down what she was doing, and she went over to the computer, pulled the chair up right next to the speakers, and sat there and listened to it from that point to the very end. And then when she got to the end, she said she covered all the bases. And she said the whole world needs to hear this record. So
that just gave me chills.
I know, me too.
That.
When I heard that, I just went, oh my gosh. And so she's unfortunately in the same club that I'm in, that Widows Club.
Yeah.
And she knows what it's like to go through those things, and she got it. So it was really kind of cool to have that testimonial, if you will, about it.
But when this project starts to wind down a little bit, and your last track is Healing Happens, which is great because it does happen. But I like your track, I'm Gonna Be Fine.
Yeah.
And that's when you come to the realization that one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. Is that what you were feeling?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. You know, the chorus is sometimes I might get off track and sometimes I might shine. Like bamboo that keeps on coming back, I'm going to keep on trying. Don't give up on me just yet. It's going to take some time. I got to believe. Please, with every step, I'm going to be fine.
I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
We're going to take another break, get another word in for a couple of our sponsors. And as we come back, we're going to play one of the tracks for you to listen to here. And then we're going to have some more conversation with Robin.
You're listening to the business side of music.
As a musician, you have a dream, that vision of what success looks like for you. Though it's not only about the money, money is part of it. Whether you've been extremely successful or you're just striving to maintain a regular cash flow, you need a plan. Money Concepts can help you develop a customized plan to achieve the financial stability and success you want. For over 40 years, Money Concepts has been providing holistic financial planning services to individuals, families, and business owners. As an independent firm, Money Concepts and their associates are committed to always represent the best interest of the client. It's really about a committed, benevolent interest in them personally. This independence, coupled with that committed, benevolent interest, means they represent you, the client, not a product supplier. It's not about selling products, it's about helping you achieve success. To learn how this can benefit you, contact my buddy, John Adams, with Money Concepts at 737-867-9309. That's 737-867-9309. You can also email John at jadams@moneyconcepts.com.
Whether you consider yourself a musician or not, music is all around us, and it affects our everyday lives. Whether it's background music influencing our shopping habits in a store, organ music adding the vibe to a baseball game, or a playlist convincing us to keep going on that last mile of a run. I'm Mindy Peterson, host of the podcast Enhance Life with Music, where we take a holistic look at music's benefits through the lens of science and medicine, entertainment, and business. You can find me and Enhance Life with Music at mpetersonmusic.com/podcast or wherever you get your audio.
You're listening to the business side of music.
Tonight I'm drinking for two. These days it's all I can do. Here's one for me and here's one for you. Tonight I'm drinking for two. Happy hour starts a little earlier these days with nobody here. Why would I wait? It's a Band-Aid on a big heartache. Let the spirits take me away. Tonight I'm drinking for two. These days it's all I can do. Here's one for me and here's one for you. Tonight I'm drinking for two.
Back in the studio, Robin Ruddy is sitting across the table, and she just plied me with some great gifts. I got a little journal book, and we've got a Healing Happens candle, which I'm going to light. And this is her album, Robin Ruddy, Healing Happens. And during the break, we were talking about one of the songs that we just played during the break, or coming back from the break, Drinking for Two. Sometimes it feels like that's what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because that's really celebrating little victories.
Exactly right. That's what Larry and I used to love to do. We always celebrated little victories, no matter how small. Just every day there's something, or something that happens that you can celebrate, it seems like. And so we celebrated life. And when he was gone, I was just going, well, here's one for me and here's one for you.
Yeah.
Tonight I'm drinking for two.
Yeah, that's how to do it.
Yeah.
People that want to get a hold of this album, you gave me a CD, which, look, I'm old school. I'm an analog guy in a digital world. So
you still have a CD player?
I still have a CD player. Yeah, I have one in the car, and we actually have one hooked up to our stereo.
Well, there you go. And then you have the liner notes inside.
Yes, which, let's talk about that. I miss that so much.
I miss that so much. You don't know who's playing on the record. You don't know who's producing them.
You know, when I was growing up, high school and college, and we still had records, and then CDs came into it, and even cassettes to a certain extent. I would read the liner notes. That's how I got to know the musicians. That's how I got to know the session players.
It was such a part of the experience.
Yeah, and I'd be going, and I was a bass player, so I'd be like, oh, Leyland Sklar's on this? Oh, well, I got to listen to this album.
You had to have that album because of the bass player.
And the liner notes were something that you could look at while you were listening to the music. And it just kind of completed that trip.
Yes.
Yeah, I miss that so much.
Yeah.
Young recording artists out there, don't forget to put liner notes, even if it's just online.
Yeah.
Because I think it's missed so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a missed opportunity, especially for those players on the album that maybe don't get the acknowledgement or the recognition otherwise.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The studio, obviously, you have going. You've got this going, and I want to talk about how people can find that music. You got anything else in the works at this point?
I sure do.
What else you got going on?
I've got a band that I'm one of the founding members of called 16th Avenue Breakdown, and we've got a record coming out in early 24.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a fusion of sort of hippie grass. I'll call it hippie grass.
I love that.
Hippie grass meets basement rock, and it's really fun project. It's real fun. And that's going to be released in probably January, February.
Yeah.
So that's that. And then the next one, I've got another record that I recorded during the pandemic that I'm going to release after the 16th Avenue Breakdown. It'll be under my name. And that one is the Me, Myself, and I band. I'm playing all of the parts on it. And they are all cover tunes, and it was all a result of being a part of the Sync Cafe during the pandemic. And every week they would throw out a cover tune challenge. And of course, I would go in. I had nothing else to do.
Right.
Everything was gone, and I had nothing else to do. So I was in there all the time building these songs with me playing all the parts. And I started to find my lane, and it's actually kind of a grass rock. Rap, I was going to say confusion, bluegrass rock fusion, because it's rock songs played in bluegrass instrumentation.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah. So it's grassified 90s rock.
Grassified. You have come up with a lot of different terms there that I absolutely love.
There you go.
All right, so let's talk about Healing Happens. How can people find that project?
Well, it's on all the streaming platforms if you would like to stream it. If you would like to support an artist, you can go to robinruddy.com.
We always want to support the artists.
And order it from me, and I will send it to you. And I can send you hard copies, or you can download it digitally.
Very nice. Thank you so much for being on the show. What a great story you have.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on it. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure's all mine.
I love your podcast.
Thank you.
Go check out all of his other podcasts. It's great.
It's nice to know that someone's listening to it. Yay!
Yay!
The Business Side of Music is the creation of Tom Sabella and Tracy Snow and is produced by Bob Bender. The Business Side of Music is recorded at Music Dog Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. Production sound designed by Keith Stark. Voiceover and promo by Lisa Busan.